Welcome back, viewers. My name is Caroline Bithe and this is Afya Leo. We're going on with the discussion and today we are talking about tuberculosis, and we are blessed and privileged to have Mrs. Ndugire here to help us understand more about this TB professionally and also to help us understand more about it na tuache kumake those assumptions na kuonea sana watu wa TB kule nyumbani. So before we went for the break, we were talking about the diagnosis of TB, and you talked about 2 weeks the microbacteria is dormant. Does that mean that 1 week naweza sambaza bado TB?
The essence of it all, thank you so much for that question. The essence of it all is within these 2 weeks of taking drugs, of taking the treatment, already the drugs in 2 weeks time will make the mycobacterium dormant, so that its motility it's capped down.
Okay.
So you can never infect somebody else because it has gone down, the motility rate of the mycobacterium.
So at 1 week, should we isolate people from the TB patients? Should we isolate them mpaka 2 weeks ziishe ndo tujue imepungua?
There is one thing I want to remove from our viewers' mind and everybody else. We do not, capital not, isolate patients because they have TB.
Yes.
We keep them, you know, even before they were diagnosed, we were still living together. Now that we have known that they have TB, let it not be like a myth that now it has become a killer disease. We are living with TB. Even as we are healthy right now, we have a TB somewhere and it is hidden in a cyst. Most of the people, they have a TB cyst somewhere hidden, like a tubercle hidden. But because we are eating well, we are happy, we are well, it is not multiplying. It is not even, we are not infecting people. So within these 2 weeks, the treatment, the drug, will just make the TB dormant. So that is the essence of eating well. That's why I said in puberty. It is spread so fast.
Okay.
Yes.
So after 2 weeks, nimepona?
No.
There's a dose that I'm supposed to be taking even after the 2 weeks.
This one I'll go back to treatment.
Okay.
Let me just rush to treatment, and I'll let our viewers know how do we treat TB, for how long.
Before we go to the treatment, let me cut you short, sorry. Before we go to the treatment, let me ask, for how long does the TB cells live hapa kwa hewa? Because you've told us it's an airborne disease.
It is an airborne disease.
Yes.
And anytime I release them, immediately you take those mycobacterium. They start now the multiplication rate in your body. Anytime I talk, and anybody who transmit the disease, anytime you talk, you release the mycobacterium in the air. Millions of them. Anytime you speak, anytime you cough, anytime you know, even in an interaction like this one, so long as the ventilation is poor, I release millions of them in the air. And therefore, if at all your body is weak, you just contract the mycobacterium.
Okay.
Yes.
Because in our village there is a guy alikuwa na TB. Na anytime angekuwa na watu wakiongea, watu walikuwa wanamtoroka because they are saying kukaa na huyu mzee ni kama anatupea TB na ameambukiza hadi watoto wake. So in a case where a parent let's say the father ako na TB na familia ingine iko sawa, what do you do in such a scenario? Because hautamfungia umwambie asiongeleshe bibi yake, asiongeleshe watoto. Yes.
Okay, as we said, as I told you, TB thrives very well in an overcrowded homestead.
Yes.
In your case, I don't know the type of a family it was. And that's why I was talking about the setup of our hearts, all our traditional hearts. Here, now somebody like that one, the one that you saw, and people are trying to isolate him, that is going to infect everybody in the family. In one way, they were right. But the moment that guy went to the hospital and started the drugs, after 2 weeks, he could not spread the TB anymore to anybody. And that's why we say, if at all there are elderly people in the family where there is somebody with TB, or there are kids below 5 years, immediately there is a diagnosis that is made in the family of tuberculosis. We take all other young people, young children, little babies, 5 years and below, for clinical diagnosis.
Okay.
Because, you know, the immunity is not very good. Even the elderly, the immunity is not very good. So we call them to the facility and we try to diagnose them.
Okay.
Yes.
So now let's go to the treatment. How is TB treated?
TB is treated in a fixed dose combinations of drugs.
Yes.
We don't treat TB with one drug.
Yes.
They are combined. There are many drugs, we combine them. And therefore, we give that treatment. We have two phases. We have the first intensive phase. That is the initial phase.
Yes.
Intensive phase. We give them drugs for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. The whole treatment takes 6 months.
Yes.
Those 6 months, we divide them into two phases.
Yes.
We have the intensive phase. That is the first phase. We start with intensive phase, whereby we give for 2 months drugs for 2 months. Then after 2 months of treatment, we give continuation phase. That continuation phase, we give them for 4 months, totaling to 6 months.
Is it consistent ama ni 2 months saa hii tuseme kama January, February nilikuja mkanipea dose na mimi kidogo nikakaa sikukuja March? Is it consistent?
Once you start the drug day one, there is no skipping or alternate days. You don't alternate.
Okay.
You take them daily for those 6 months.
Okay.
So intensive phase is for 2 months. Then there is continuation phase for 4 months. Every day, every day.
And what if I skip a dose? Like I have taken my dose today, tomorrow, then
You
the next
forget.
day I forget.
Okay.
Am I supposed to go back to?
What we do, what I do mostly, if you happen to forget,
Yes.
I'll bring you back to the round table. I teach you once again the adherence of the drug, how to adherence of the drug, how to fuatilisha kukunywa every day. And I make sure if at all you skipped, I will add them. After 6 months of taking the drugs, I will add them at the end.
Okay.
So that you can go for your full
Dose.
6 months treatment.
And what ni nini hii inafanyika for the first 2 months? Because you've said first you go for an intensive treatment for 2 months, then 4 months. What's happening these 2 months?
What happens? We give a certain combination of drugs which are a bit conk. We call them RHZE combination. And then after that continuation, we give another type of drug,
Okay.
which is not as strong as the first one, and that one curbs the mycobacterium completely.
Okay.
Yes.
And what do you do to a person whose case is a bit different? That is in a scenario where I've gone for the 6 months, but still it's like I'm not responding. What do you do to such a person?
Well, in TB there is what we call relapse. You may take the drugs and then, you know, we follow them. Especially when they are taking the treatment, they come daily, and then we teach them. Then we make sure the intensive phase, they come every weekly. Yani they come to the facility weekly. Every week they come for the drugs till they finish the intensive phase. Then when we come to continuation phase,
Yes.
they come every 2 weeks. Then they come to every 1 month. So we follow them so closely so that they don't default, or they don't skip the drug. And they must have you must have somebody who is also keeping the track of how you are taking your drugs. And therefore, just as you have asked me, how do they adhere? It is by following them closely. We are following you, and whoever you have told us, either the wife, son, or a daughter,
Yes.
is also following you up closely at home. So adherence make it all possible for one to finish the treatment well.
So when you've talked about relapse, what if that happens?
Relapse.
Yes.
If it relapse,
You go
that
back
is going to the danger
first.
zone, because now we shall be forced to go back to the initial stage of taking the sputum for microscopy again, taking the necessary investigations, so that if at all it is not, we try to test whether it is not responding to these drugs, and there is a relapse that when it relapses more and more, it comes to extrapulmonary TB, it comes to be multiple drug resistant TB. Hello?
Hi.
Even this pulmonary TB, it turns to be multiple resistant TB, what we call MDR. When it comes to MDR, now we shall go to very strong drugs, and the treatment will go now for 18 months.
Hey.
Unlike the 6 months, 18 months,
Okay.
with a very strong type of, combined antibiotics.
And today I want to get it from the horse's mouth. TB inapona.
TB is treatable. That's why we, from the initial time we talked over, there are drugs for TB. TB is treatable, and people go very well after treatment. Even you can never tell that somebody was sick of TB.
But from the way you're explaining everything, that means a lot of discipline
Yes.
is expected
Yes.
when you are diagnosed with a TB.
Yes. Expectations are very high that this person must adhere to treatment. This person must eat well. This person must learn how to love himself, so that you can finish the drugs, and also to love your family. If at all the house, we also visit them. We do what we call home visiting.
Yes.
So that we can make sure their houses are not overcrowded, there is enough lighting in their houses, and also there is no congestion in their houses. And also the ventilation is good. Yes.
Okay. And what are some of the ways that are taken to prevent transmission of TB?
Measures.
Yes.
Measures taken is all I've just talked about. Making sure there is no overcrowding in their homes. Making sure they are eating well. Making sure there is proper ventilation. Making sure the lighting of the house is good. Making sure they know what we call balanced diet. Yes.
What if in a case or a scenario where you're talking about overcrowded places? Kuna mama pale akona TB, akona watoto, more than 7 kids. What do you do to how do you advise such a person? Because you're talking about overcrowding. Atafanya nini hao watoto, atapea neighbor watu wako hapo?
We advise accordingly. You see, as medics, there is an extent that we cannot go. We go where we can get. Because sometimes, you know, clients can really stress you. And also, you as a client, I can really stress you. For example, if I come in a family and start saying now you are supposed to build another house, see, now I think I'm going too far. So we just advise the family depending with how they are, and that is the psychology that we have for our clients. You know, hata kama ni nyumba kidogo, you make sure the ventilation is done. Good ventilation of the house, hata kama ni small. Yes.
And kama nilikuwa na TB hapo kitambo na ikakuja ikapona, hiyo inaweza leta challenges kwa mwili yangu? Can it make me immune?
Kama ulikuwa na TB and then ukatibiwa ikaisha, yeah, that's what I've called relapse. There are people who go again and contact again. Then they get the disease again. And most of them are people who are having poor nutrition. You know, just as we said initially, poverty is one of the contributing factors, and therefore they come back with relapse. And mostly one of the preventive measures for that, we are doing immunization. We immunize the mothers during pregnancy, we immunize the children. That is what the work we do to prevent relapses and also early treatment of TB. Yes.
Okay. So Mrs. Ndugire, I want you to have your final word to someone out there who is watching us, someone who maybe akona TB na anateseka sana. There's a lot of stigma that comes with this disease. So I just want you to have a word with someone who is watching us.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, my viewers, for listening to me. One thing I know, TB is treatable. TB is not a death sentence. TB is treatable, and therefore, what you need to do, if at all you have a cough, even the slightest, just go to the facility near you, be checked, let your sputum be taken for diagnosis, and you're well to go. The other thing, remove every type of a myth from your ears that TB disease is inherited from our people. No. Another thing, take the proper measures of prevention. Avoid overcrowding. Avoid poor ventilation. Avoid poor lighting in our houses. Avoid malnutrition because it is avoidable in our setups. The other thing, even in exchange of things like mics, be very careful because of the droplets. Because initially I said TB is an airborne disease. It is good even if you are in a choir. Be checked, all of you, because of this. Now I told you, this microbacterium is very notorious.
Yes.
And it is airborne. So it is very good to avoid infecting other people. So it is going to take care of yourself and take care of your brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And therefore we live healthy after taking the proper measures.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for helping us understand more about TB na pia kutuchanua na kutupea facts about TB. Thank you. That has been our time, and as you have heard from the horse's mouth, TB is treatable and it requires a lot of discipline. You as a patient. So please, kama uko na TB and you've been advised to take your dose, be very careful, be very disciplined as you are taking your treatment.
Another thing, Carol.
Yes.
Let the parents know. Let them take their children for immunization.
Okay.
Immediately after birth, let our children be immunized. BCG is immunization against TB.
Okay.
Immediately after birth. So it is very important for mothers to take their children for immunization. Pregnant mothers, please just go for the 4 antenatal clinics that you may be immunized against tuberculosis.
Okay.
Thank you.
So guys, as they say, knowledge is power, and so far you have the knowledge, so kindly use the power you have. That has been our time. See you tomorrow. My name is Caroline Bide.